So, I've read about older adults skydiving, but it's really quite something to actually be doing it.
Heather, this is nothing. We overcome ageism every single day.
But so even the young guy behind us is turning green.
That's because he didn't remember to take his Dramamine. Let's start. Let's just go.
All right. Hello, my name's Heather Hersey, and I'm an aging life care manager where I work with seniors and their families and other professionals who help them. And
I'm Susan Howards. I'm an attorney who deals with elder abuse, domestic violence, malpractice. And my name is Howards and Heather's name is Hersey. Hersey, what are we doing today?
Today we are doing a segment on caretaker burnout.
What's a caretaker?
A caretaker is somebody who takes care of another person, like in terms of providing food, medication, help with dressing, help with bathing.
So the other
person could be a spouse.
Okay.
It could be a parent. It could be a friend or a spousal equivalent.
Could it be a child?
It could be a child. Absolutely. It could be a child.
Do they have to be sick, or could they just have some sort of condition that impairs them so they can't be independent?
Yeah, so absolutely. They don't have to be sick necessarily. They could have a chronic condition, maybe like Down syndrome or, just.
Or MS or MS.
Exactly.
But Hersey, it could also be somebody who's had a car accident and is impaired for maybe a shorter period of time.
Yep.
Necessarily the rest of their life, right?
But those are shorter, though.
They're shorter. Are caretakers always medical personnel?
No. Actually, they're not. Often they are. They have some training. They should have some training, certified nurses aide or certified home health aide. They should have certification, but they're not professional medical people. And a big part of the support, a big part of a good caretaker is somebody who can really intuit and sense what somebody's needs are without having to ask them a zillion times. But sometimes a caretaker is brought in, other times, hired. Other times a caretaker is a family member who might be the exclusive caretaker, which is where today's topic, caretaker burnout, comes in.
One quick question before we get to the topic. If you're going to hire somebody, how do you find out if they're certified, if they're trained, and what the quality of the training is?
A lot of questions. One option is to go through an agency.
Okay.
But you know what? It doesn't always go so well. The other option is to go through something like care.com, where there are caretakers and they will list their qualifications on there and give you, references.
Okay,
but
that's good.
I think a big part of it is interviewing and interviewing and interviewing again. Not just one quick interview on the phone and not just one quick reference check.
Okay. So caretaker burnout is what, when you've done it too long?
Yeah. It's when somebody has, done so much caretaking, they're often the sole caretaker for somebody, and they're finding they're less effective. They're doing less, but yet they're exhausted. They feel emotionally dull and hopeless. They tend to withdraw from family and friends, maybe give up things that they used to do to, nourish themselves, to nurture themselves. They've given that up, which ends up to emotional depletion, which goes to depression, which then causes people to have less resistance to colds and flus, and increased risk for things like heart disease and diabetes, just to give one example. That they may not sleep that well, and they're at the point where they just can't really do anything. So they're just, they can't help the other people, they can't help themselves. So the idea is to prevent caretaker burnout, because it's not a good place to be.
How do you know when it's starting? What are the first signs that
Well-
maybe we should all look for? The beginning, because
Well,
maybe,
it may be that they're not sleeping as well, exhaustion. It may be that they just really are feeling sad and bursting into tears when they don't normally. They may be drinking more. They may be using other drugs, prescription and otherwise. They may be very terse with people, including the person they're taking care of.
Mhm,
They're just absolutely, they're getting towards their wits' end.
So if you know that, if you know you're getting towards your wit's end, what can you do to stop it or to channel it or?
I think what you can do is, I think the first thing is to learn how to say no to certain requests that are being made of you. And then beyond that, to ask for help from whether it's other family members, other friends, other, people in your, sphere who can, even if, maybe they could help with the caretaking duties and, go back to that walk with your friends once or twice a week that was so important, or take a day off a week. Or they could hire somebody, a caretaker to come in and give them a break a few days a week.
What if they
have the
can't-
resources.
Percy, what if they can't afford it?
Well,
I-
then it's
With my
going back to
mother. Yeah.
relying on, other family members to step in. And if the other family members are not caretakers, you don't know how to do that, then maybe the other family members take on another task, like shopping for the person who's the caretaker, or, shopping's one idea, maybe house cleaning, maybe
Driving.
driving, exactly. Just to kind of take something off of that person's plate. So that person has time to go back to the activities that nourish and sustain them.
But what if the other family members, and this happened to me, are resistant to doing anything?
Well, then it's
My
then that's
problem.
where the
Then-
hiring
and you-
comes in.
And then you have to hire.
Yeah,
so
then you have to, I think then you really have to hire. Sometimes families look at doing like a month of respite care at a assisted living facility.
What is
many-
that? What is that?
That is where, basically you can move, a family member, if they qualify, and I mean, just in terms of, if they can move into an assisted living facility for a month, 2
Oh, I
months,
didn't know
3
that.
months. I've had families who have done that while they've been on sabbatical, and give the person a chance to replenish. Now that could be $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month for that. So that's where it gets pricey. But for people who have the resources, that is absolutely an option.
That's a good option.
The assisted living will provide them with a furnished room, they're 3 meals a day, help from aides, and caretakers, activities. So that is, it's a more expensive option.
Mhm.
Sometimes there are volunteers who will help, but that is pretty, it's hard to find those people.
What about public health departments in the towns? Do they still have visiting nurses who will help?
They do, but you know what, their resources have been cut back a lot. So where I found the time that I think of where I encountered a public nurse coming to somebody's house was with the COVID's vaccine. Homebound people in Newton. I had a client and I reached out to them and they came in and gave her her COVID's.
And
vaccine. I could not get her out of the house.
Right, I was part of the COVID call center here in my town, and that was a big part of it. They contacted all of those who were possibly homebound. Did they want somebody to come? They made arrangements for them to come. So that was really a bit, but it wasn't the public health department. It was our emergency management
Yeah.
coordinator. She was great.
Another good resource is your local senior center. And they sometimes will know of, caretakers who may be available.
What about churches and synagogues and mosques? What about the religious institutions?
Sometimes they're all organized to varying degrees, but I guess the message with caretaker burnout is, to prevent it, to really,
Right.
when you're caretaking, to really protect yourself and bring in help before it's too late.
And be vigilant, right?
And
Admit.
be vigilant,
that-
exactly,
yeah.
really be aware. So we're coming to the end of our time. So I just wanted to make it, just to state that our mission here, just Sue and I are really working to fight ageism. And ageism exists all over the place. So we
Mhm.
really want to make people make people aware that ageism is out there, and give resources to, avail yourselves of. And a couple of resources are Lots of Helping Hands. It's a website, and you can do it like a schedule of ways people can pitch in, whether it's rides, bringing a meal, shopping.
Mhm.
And the other one is,
Well, care.com is an easy one.
care.com is to get caretakers. Yeah.
Right.
But a
If
good
you have a
schedule-
computer, what if they don't have a computer? What you mentioned, call
Well,
your,
then I guess it's a paper schedule on the refrigerator.
right, right.
that People
absolutely,
sign up
yeah.
for.
Yep, yep.
It's,
And
But
you
it's
can always
important.
reach out to Hersey. We're gonna put our contact information at the bottom of, at the end of this, and you can reach out to me. And if I don't have any answers, I'll reach out to Hersey.
there you go. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hope to hear from you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, absolutely.